Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. I got the white Steam Deck OLED in the mail yesterday, so we're going to do a video about it. Now initially I did not plan on picking this up, but when I had gone to their website earlier last week, they have this add to calendar option, so I added it to my calendar, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. When the pre-orders went live, I thought to myself, okay, I'll try to check out and see if it actually goes through, and if it goes through in the first minute or so, maybe I'll actually get it. And lo and behold, the pre-order system just worked beautifully, and so at that point I was like, alright, fine, you win. I will make a video about it and I'll grab one. Now I don't expect this to replace the Steam Deck OLED that I'm currently using, but you never know, I might like this one better. Now before we jump into it, I have a quick little story, and that is that it's kind of late in the day right now. I just rushed over here from a garage sale that my family was having earlier in the day. You can see that I pinched my finger setting up a tent earlier in the day, and this totally is bothering me right now. In fact, you can see it in the thumbnail of the video, and I'm not good enough at Photoshop to actually get rid of this, so it's just kind of annoying. Either way, one of the interesting things about the garage sale is that I had a bunch of accessories that I wanted to get rid of, mostly like cheap Steam Deck accessories. You know, I bought a bunch of grips and other things like that to show on this channel, and I don't really have a need for them anymore. And generally, I will auction off a lot of my bigger ticket items to charity, but these things were just so cheap that I was just selling them for, you know, a couple dollars each. Now, in my mind, I expected just a bunch of people lining up to grab all these Steam Deck accessories for cheap, but I really wasn't reading my audience very well. And that's because basically everyone that showed up for the garage sale looked at it and said, what is a Steam Deck? They had no idea what it was. And it got me thinking, because the Nintendo Switch accessories that I had, you know, they sold out really quickly, but the Steam Deck stuff just never really sold at all. And so I think it's a good example that even though the Steam Deck is very popular, it hasn't really broken into mainstream. And so there may be many people who are actually going to be watching this video deciding between getting, you know, the white limited edition one like this, or they might just be getting the standard black OLED one. And so that's the focus that I want to take in this unboxing, is just kind of giving you a feel of what makes this one different. Now looking at the front, you know, the first thing is we have this tagline, your games in a whole new light. I almost feel like they should have said your games in a whole new white. I think that would have been a little bit funnier. And Valve, you can have that one for free, but if you're ever looking to hire a marketing person, then I'm your guy. Anyway, this came in a larger brown box that also had a AC adapter. I don't have that one on me, but it's the same as the regular Steam Deck. And you're supposed to actually just tear this open, but I like to keep these, and so we're just going to slide it out as carefully as we can. And so here's a look at the outer case. I think it looks pretty good. Got some nice white coloring to it and a black strap underneath. Underneath that, we've got a little hole with a mesh bag. This is for your AC adapter. Now, opening it up, it's pretty easy. You've got this Velcro right here, and then you can unzip it. And for the big reveal, oh yeah, this looks great. And I like all the text here. It basically says all the places that you can use a Steam Deck. And one of my favorites is the Russian one right here that says on the toilet. Anyway, let's keep looking at the case. So it also comes with a microfiber cloth. But another thing about these nicer high-end models is that they have a detachable inner liner. This is also connected via Velcro, but you can see here that, yeah, you've got like a thinner one if you want something a little bit more travel friendly. And so this can be an easy way to take the Steam Deck around if you don't want so much bulk. Although admittedly, I feel like a white case like this is going to get dirty very quickly. Okay, so let's take a look at the Steam Deck itself in all of its glory, and I think it looks amazing. I love the white coloring here and these gray buttons. And the white here is not a bright white, it feels a little bit muted. But I do like the subtle accents of, like, you know, this gray Steam button and just like the gray analog stick as well. And so I think overall it's got a very clean look, and I'm a really big fan of this. I do like some of these small accents, like the orange power button, and then also the fact that the 3.5mm headphone jack has a black rim. I think it makes it just a little bit more offset and unique looking. Now looking at the back here, you can see that we also have these gray buttons on the back with the function buttons. I think it looks really nice. I also like that we have a white fan intake, but then also you can see that it's black underneath, and so it makes it really pop. Now, as far as the plastic texture, it feels the same as the black model, so a little bit gritty, but still nice and smooth. This is some of my favorite plastics when it comes to a handheld PC, and so yeah, I'm a really big fan of how this looks and feels. And I like that nothing is a stark black and white contrast. Even the text here is a muted gray, and I think it just overall lends to a more clean aesthetic. Now, a lot of people are concerned that this is going to get grimy really quickly, and I can share those concerns because in general, just putting your hands on a white device like this will just make it dirty. And it really doesn't have to do with how many Doritos that you're eating while you're playing, although that is a factor. It's just the skin that will come off of things naturally. And so I imagine over time we're probably going to see a lot of gunk build up on the sides, and it happens on the black model as well, but it's not quite as apparent. And so this is a handheld that will probably get dirtier quickly, but it is just a matter of cleaning it off every once in a while. Now, one of my secret weapons is this thing right here. I'm not sure where I got it. My wife picked it up, but this is something that I use all the time to clean off my devices. And so every month or so, I will go through and use a wipe or two on all of my gadgets. So, something like my PS5 controller, and then all of my white handhelds. Now, to give you an idea of the muted white color of the Steam Deck OLED, you can see that the ROG Ally, the original Z1 Extreme, is quite a bit brighter. And so the Steam Deck OLED almost has a grayish tint to it by comparison. Now, another theme about the ROG Ally in comparison is that it's more contrasty. So we have black buttons, and then, it just makes a more of a black and white experience altogether. I'm not really particular to one aesthetic over the other. I just think this one's a little bit cleaner and more muted, while this one is more contrasty and gamery. And so here's a good example of dirt buildup that can happen over time. Now, admittedly, I don't play my ROG Ally that much because I have the Ally X, but you can see that it is a little bit dirty even now. This one is exacerbated by the bumpy grips here, which is bumpier than the Steam Deck, so I expect that this one will pick up dirt even more. Now, in terms of everything else, like the controls and the ergonomics, it's all exactly like the original Steam Deck. There's no difference here. It feels exactly the same. And so things like the D-pad and face buttons, it's all identical to the original Steam Deck, so I don't think we need to go into detail about it. However, one thing worth noting is that I rarely use my original Steam Deck just on its own without any sort of grip case. So let's talk about the KillSwitch case and why it's not probably a good fit for this device. So first of all, here is my Steam Deck OLED, and you can see it's got quite a few modifications to it. Number one, I have a D-brand skin on it, but then also I'm using the D-brand KillSwitch grip case. This basically goes all around the device and gives it a nice grippy feel, and it also makes the grips just a little bit bigger, and so I've always enjoyed this overall thicker feel. And you can see it is quite beat up. I have been using it for about 1.5 years at this point, and I love it. And initially I was hoping that D-brand would make a white model for this. There was a point where I was actually saying to myself, okay, I'm not going to buy the white model unless D-brand says they're going to make a white KillSwitch. And they didn't, but I still bought it anyway. As you can tell, I kind of had to talk myself into buying the white Steam Deck OLED, so I went through a couple layers of denial first. Anyway, yes, this is my ideal way to play the Steam Deck OLED. I've got that KillSwitch case on it, so let's try it on the white model. Now, getting this off and on is not too hard. You just kind of have to put it in here in the bottom, and then you kind of pull this part over and around the shoulder buttons. It takes a little bit of wiggling to get there, but after that, it's pretty easy. Okay, so this is what the white model looks like with the black KillSwitch case, and I think it is kind of terrible. It just makes it very obvious that you're using a grip case, and it feels like a slapped-on accessory. Now, I think if this was white, it would be just a more seamless experience. But I also think that they probably would have to color grade the white to match this exact white on the Steam Deck, and so that's probably going to be a bit of a challenge. So long story short, it does feel better to me using this KillSwitch case, but this is definitely not something I will use with my white Steam Deck with this color. Another option would be to use a colored skin like this, but I don't know, I don't want to cover up this beautiful white aesthetic. So long story short, yes, it improves the overall feel of the white Steam Deck, but this is not something that I plan on using. And so really it comes down to whether or not D-brand makes a white KillSwitch, because I think I would pick that up, but as it stands, I'm probably just going to use this naked. And the more I thought about it, I figured that this might be a really excellent case for the white model. In fact, I grabbed this from the garage sale pile so I could use it in this video today. So this is a hard plastic case from tomtoc, and so it's basically perfectly form-fitting for the Steam Deck. And so I think something like this would be a nice little solution in that it fully protects the Steam Deck, but you can still obviously tell that you have that beautiful white color. And so I think when it comes to carrying cases, this is going to be my option for the white model. I just think it's a really nice contrast. Now I want to talk about the screen, and the limited edition white OLED model that we're looking at here only has one variant, and it's this one. It's got 1 terabyte of internal storage and it runs for $679. But for the screen, it has the etched glass display. It's going to have the same resolution as all the others, which is a 1280 by 800 resolution and a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. And it is an OLED panel, but I will say that the etched glass itself is not my favorite when it comes to the Steam Deck. The etched glass is anti-reflective. In fact, if I turn it over to the studio lights, you can see that it diffuses the light, and I think it looks really nice. It gives a pleasant kind of overall look. However, this is an OLED display, and when it comes to OLED panels, one of the things I like about the colors and the contrast is when they really pop. And unfortunately, I found that this etched glass display does mute the colors and vibrancy a little bit. And I made a video comparing these Steam Deck OLED models when they first came out, and I ended up picking the one that is non-etched glass as my primary Steam Deck. You can see here that it doesn't diffuse the light at all, but it has a much more poppier and vibrant kind of color to it, and so I really appreciate this more. And so personally, I prefer the glossy Steam Deck OLEDs. I actually like the etched glass better with the LCD model, but when it came to OLED, this is the one that I chose. So what I ended up doing with this one, which is the 512GB model, is I put a 2TB storage drive inside of it. Another thing you can do with the glossy one is that you can add a screen protector on it. It's not going to take away from the visual fidelity at all. And so here I do have a screen protector on mine, and I love the fact that it's protected, but still nice and vibrant. And you can put a screen protector on something like this, but it's going to be a weird mishmash between a glossy screen protector and then that etched glass underneath. And I found that that combination actually mutes the colors even more. And all this stuff is explained in more detail in that other video. I'll leave it linked down below. And so for me personally, in a perfect world, I would appreciate having multiple different versions of the white model, including a glossy screen and the etched glass for those who want it. But as it stands right now, this is only a limited edition model, and yes, it's only going to be the etched glass. Now, one thing that people may or may not appreciate about this white model is that we have this black bezel around it. Personally, I don't mind it. I think that having a light bezel like this kind of focuses my eye into the center, and so it's one of those things that once I'm actually playing a game, I just don't notice at all. It might have been a little bit more seamless with a white bezel, but honestly, it probably would have been hard to match the colors anyway. So I don't really mind the contrast of the white console, the black bezel, and then the game itself. Now, the only other difference I've noticed about the white OLED model is that when you plug it in, you get a lot of light bleed here with the LCD light. It might be hard to show under the studio lights, but all of the plastic around this is actually white. Let me turn off the lights so you can see, yeah, this actually stands out quite a bit. I don't think it's a huge deal, but in certain lighting conditions, especially in the dark, it just bleeds over, especially over in this front part, and it just makes the plastic look a little bit cheap. They probably could have isolated this light a little bit better by using some sort of black rim around it, but as it stands right now, it's, not a deal breaker for me. And so in wrapping things up here, I think that yes, the white Steam Deck OLED is actually pretty neat looking, but obviously not something worth upgrading for if you have a Steam Deck already. Maybe if you have an older LCD model and you've been wanting to upgrade to an OLED one and this one is going to push you over the edge, then maybe I could see that. But for me personally, I'm not head over heels in love with it other than the fact that I love the clean overall look. If we get some more accessories for it, like a white grip case, then that might be great. But I'm also a bigger fan of the glossy OLED screen, and so that's kind of a kicker for me. When it comes down to it, I think it is a wonderful, clean design. But it also makes me wish that they had this white model available from the beginning, and we could choose between either a white or a black variant with also the glossy or the etched screen. But for my part, I'm probably just going to use my regular Steam Deck OLED as my primary Steam Deck and then use the white one on occasion and see if any other accessories pop up. At the very least, it's going to look amazing in thumbnails for future videos. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I don't want to get too long-winded here, but I love talking about these little gadgets. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you picking one of these up? Do you have the other Steam Deck? Or do you prefer an ROG Ally? As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.